We have some news in Portland. There was another peaceful protest that resulted in one of the protesters setting themselves on fire as rioters threw it's been reported 3 incendiary objects at officers. So essentially a Molotov was thrown and a rioter was there and he caught on fire. I think he's okay from the video, but yeah, it's kind of getting everywhere. So I figured we can take a look at it and talk a little bit on the unfoldings of the night. So here's the first video that I found for you to watch. There he is. Not sure why he was standing right where it was. But the police officers, you could see, were right behind him. So they were pretty close to where that was thrown. They don't know how to put out fires. Oh look, police come and have a fire extinguisher. Look at that. The police came and helped him because the rest of the rioters had no idea how to handle a situation. You think if they'd have Molotovs, they'd have some, understanding or other useful equipment to help put out fires, especially for situations like this. But I don't think they think that far ahead because they seem to not think, just in general. But thank you for the police for coming in and putting out the fire with your fire extinguisher. Much appreciated. We have another angle of this occurrence that we can take a look at. So here's the police standing there, and you'll see the Molotov basically is thrown to where they are, and then the same thing occurs just from a different angle. So we'll take a look at that. There it is. There he goes. You heard it break too, so it was in a glass. Well, obviously that's how most Molotovs work, but still, it's like you're throwing a glass object that then creates a fire explosion. It's not a very smart thing. It's an act of violence. Oh, look, here they are. Please come, put it out, help them, walk away. Of course, they're not going to get any credit, So even though they're being attacked and targeted as law enforcement, they still helped him. They still performed their public duty and helped him. Amazing. But they're all bad, right? That's what the media will have you believe. That's what everyone on Twitter will have you believe. It's just not the case. And here's another occurrence of that not being the case. So how did this all start? Well, check it out. They were walking. Apparently, the protest started, the peaceful protest, as we'll see later in an article, started, and they were heading towards a police precinct, and then they were told, basically, they were blocked off, and they were like, no, you're not going to go to the police precinct because you're clearly going to go there and cause harm and damage and destruction. And, it's our job to protect, people that are potentially in danger. They didn't know how to handle that. And it's probably a good thing they didn't end up getting to the precinct because they already had 3 incendiary devices, 3 Molotov cocktails that they threw at police. And then you'll see in this video, they had a lot more than that. So could you imagine what they have actually done if they had gotten to the police precinct? Looks like a war zone. I mean, granted, they're fireworks. It's not actual bombs, but still, it's not a safe thing. No one's getting arrested. Isn't that crazy? No one's getting charged. No one's getting beaten up. No one's getting hit from police. They're just pushing forward, trying to get the crowd back. And then we saw they got a Molotov thrown at them. And that resulted in one of the rioters being set ablaze that the police, stepped in and put out. So thank you for that. I hope he is okay, because regardless of who they are, I still don't want people to be hurt. At the end of the day, we're all American citizens, and we need to find a way to compromise and get along. And I do not want to stoop down to the levels of the left and basically just hate them because they're on the left. Hate is not good. So we're going to look at the Oregon Live from the Oregonian. Basically writes, tensions at Portland protest flares Saturday after Molotov cocktails tossed near police blocking march routes. So there's a bunch of pictures here, basically everything from the videos that we just saw. And the article reads, police blocked hundreds of demonstrators from marching to a southeast Portland police precinct Saturday night, then quickly declared the gathering a riot after people threw at least 3 incendiary devices toward officers. Well, obviously, yeah, so it starts out as a peaceful protest. But see, that's the thing. It could start out like that for 5 seconds, but like they were clearly prepared for it to not be peaceful. That's the thing. They were equipped to where it was clearly going to be acts of violence. So shouldn't intent matter? We never hear about intent at all, right? But for some reason, that's completely left out in these, and they're all considered peaceful. Police used tear gas for the first time in September and arrested several people. Maybe, okay. I guess there were arrests going on. It just didn't seem in the video. The clashes played out for hours in the neighborhoods surrounding Ventura Park, where people initially gathered to protest police violence and anti-black racism. Keep in mind, this was titled, I think it was the 101st day. So there's right here. Portland protests continue for 101st consecutive night. 101 nights consecutively. I mean, Ted, come on, Ted Wheeler, Portland mayor, what are you doing? What is going on in your head to allow this to occur for 101 nights? I feel like 7 days is overkill. I mean, an entire week of this stuff is nonsense, but we're into our 4th month. That's insane. That's nuts. Protesters tried repeatedly over the course of the night to find a path to the precinct. Police blocked the way every time. Tensions remained high throughout the night and into early Sunday morning. It was the second straight night that state troopers helped Portland police. So the second night that the state troopers helped the Portland police. So it's escalated to where now there's more support helping in that particular area. That region is getting covered now with more law enforcement help. Hopefully more law enforcement that's helping keep the public safe and, putting out fires of people that detest them. But hey, they're not supposed to judge you. They're supposed to basically just uphold the law and keep people safe. There's a process for judgment. Although the left doesn't seem to go through that process or believe in it, they believe in just attacking you for having a different set of ideological principles, I guess. In recent weeks, nightly protests have often culminated in damage such as graffiti, broken windows, and small fires outside law enforcement buildings. So there's a precedent here that it's not going to be peaceful. A few of those demonstrations happened at East Precinct. Demonstrators planned to return there Saturday, but just as more than 400 people started to leave Ventura Park around 9 p.m., police told the crowd they could not march to the precinct for the safety of city employees, community members, and nearby residents. And obviously this footage proves that, they're fortune tellers. They can see into the future. Now, I think there's enough precedent after 100 days of rioting that it's probably, I'm just gonna wager a guess here and just assume that it's not gonna change on this particular night on a weekend. If anything, don't you think on the weekend they'd be even more fiery and crazy? An officer using a loudspeaker said the march was not permitted and said police have the authority to place reasonable time, place, and manner restrictions on this event. So people might say, oh, it's a First Amendment right to protest regardless of time of day or location or any of that stuff. You can't take away their First Amendment rights. Well, okay, check it out. There's enough evidence here that they're not peaceful. So, I mean, that's kind of, one of the key components in protesting with your First Amendment rights. And also here is from the state code from the city of Portland. This I thought was interesting. So it says, A, whenever a threat to the public health or safety is created by any emergency, a Portland police officer may restrict or deny access to any persons to the area where such threats exist for the duration of such threat when the officer reasonably believes the presence of such persons would constitute a danger to themselves or others or would substantially interfere with the performance of the police or other emergency services. For purposes of this section, an emergency includes, but is not limited to, an escaped prisoner, a natural disaster, a fire. Oh, wham, boop, 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 boop. There you go. You throw a Molotov, creates a fire. There you go. An explosion. Oh, those were happening like crazy. An accident. Well, I guess you can say the guy catching on fire is an accident. A riot, which is clearly what we saw. The presence of an armed person. I'm sure there was a ton of armed people there. A hostage incident or a bomb threat. Okay, well, they qualified here with more. There's at least 3 of these that qualified. Yeah, I guess that gives them the right to restrict access. They weren't even telling them to, they were just saying you can't come to the police precinct and trying to keep them out of that particular area. But, you know, they're little crybabies and they wanted their way and they didn't get it, so they were upset. Anyways, it's just, this is the narrative that we're seeing, basically that police are terrible, they're violent. We've already seen statistically that's not the case. And we just saw in this video that the police actually put the fire out on the rioter that the other rioters didn't seem to know how to do. So even with all this going on, they still helped him. And I'm sure that'll get overlooked. But, you know, I don't know. It is what it is. Unfortunately, hopefully this thing comes to an end. I don't see it coming to an end. I see it escalating because a major election's around the corner and the left does not want to lose. They really, really want Biden to win. And they're trying to use these scare tactics and essentially these threats to get it. So don't be coerced into voting just because you think this will just get worse with them in office. And yeah, I mean, I just feel like this kind of stuff is, you're going to see it just fade out. The media won't focus on it after the election. And then if no one's talking about it, then you're just going to, you know, it's like having your head in the sand, right? You don't hear about it, therefore it doesn't exist. That's the kind of power the media has. Anyways, that's the story for this protester getting caught on fire, which I thought was, you know, nice of the police to put it out. And I think that's kind of the main focus of this, is that even though a rioter that was involved in throwing a lethal object at law enforcement, they still helped him and put the fire out. So that's probably the story you won't hear, but you saw it occur on video. So anyways, that's it for this one. And until next time, God bless.